Okay, sorry about that. Before we start with the actual presentation, I want to take you back to a moment that happened about 2 years ago now. And it's a very pivotal moment in my career, really, because I was sitting in an Uber car, and I was driving to pick up my own car from a service. It was already after dark and not the best area of town. So I was talking to the driver. I was also looking outside, packing my bag and checking my emails at the same time. And I kid you not, in that exact moment, I received this particular Uber phishing simulation email, which, naturally, if I was sitting in the office at my computer, I wouldn't react to that. It's obviously a phishing email. But in that moment, I clicked on it. And then as like a consequence or punishment, however you want to look at it, I had to take training that I've developed myself a couple of years ago. So it really wasn't the lack of training that made me click. But what was interesting is that our IT department then sent out a survey where they asked me to fill out, details about where it was, what state of mind I was in. And I thought, that's just really interesting. I want to see that the feedback from that survey from my colleagues. We all work for KnowBe4. We are a security awareness company. We shouldn't really fall for these phishing tests, but we do. And like myself, 50% of my colleagues, or 53% of my colleagues, fail the tests, not because they don't know better or because they're not trained enough, but because they were busy multitasking and distracted at the moment of the incident, exactly like myself. So then I thought, well, this is interesting. I want to know whether that's the case for other people as well, not just us at KnowBe4. And again, like 50% is about the number that came back when I looked into sort of initial research. There was a report done by Tessian that also said about 50% of the time when people fall for real phishing scams or phishing emails, they do so because they're distracted or multitasking. And that really then got me so excited about this topic that I decided I wanted to focus my master's thesis I was busy with a master's program in cyberpsychology about the element of susceptibility to phishing or to social engineering, as well as how mindfulness could potentially address those factors. And this is really the talk that we've prepared for today. So I'm going to share a little bit around the theory, the human susceptibility factors that are documented so far, as well as the theory or the hypothesis of how mindfulness can patch some of these factors. And then we will share how we've done this in practice with Christine at Nedbank. So when I looked into this, initially, like I said, my hunch was, okay, distraction, multitasking, being stressed, all of those are factors that will impact our behavior online. And particularly if I'm a cybersecurity professional, I've been in it for 22 years, I've ran a security awareness company, so I really shouldn't be the person falling for these phishing simulation tests or real phishing scams. But unfortunately, I do. I'm human, and this was not the only test that I failed, by the way. So I dived into this from a research point of view, and I categorized all the papers that I found, or the evidence that I found, into 5 categories: cognitive, behavioral, psychological, situational, and demographic. So if we now look at the cognitive factors, just cognitive biases, by the way, I mean, there are over 200 cognitive biases that have been documented. And of those, there's quite a few that impact our online risk behavior or our susceptibility to social engineering. And definitely in my story, again, like in that Uber car, what happened was that, I was in an Uber car, I was receiving a phishing email that had the Uber logo on it, and my heuristics, my cognitive biases, my recency biases kicked in, my heuristic fast thinking mode kicked in and made me think, oh yeah, this is legit. So really fast thinking, not critical thinking, not being attentive or sort of, paying attention to the present moment. All of these were at play when the incident happened to me in the car. By the way, this is just FYI here, some of the cognitive biases that, again, are documented of having an impact on our susceptibility factors to social engineering. And some of them are really quite interesting, like Dunning-Kruger effect, for example, talks to the fact that people overestimate their abilities. They really think we think we're better in detecting these things than we really are. And this, particularly in the deepfake era, is a problem, right? Like, people have been known to over-emphasize or overestimate their capabilities. And there's a couple of other biases at play that obviously social engineers are really exploiting on purpose to make us fall for their scams. Then on the behavioral side, again, there's a couple of factors that are documented or that have been evidenced. And the ones that would play in my Uber story, I just want to highlight those. Obviously, I was on autopilot. My habitual pattern is to be constantly on my phone, which is something that I'm trying not to do anymore. I was multitasking. And like I said, the access method was my phone, which, again, it's evidence that people display more risky behavior when they connect to their emails or their corporate communications on their phones while on the go. Other things that also impact our behavior is social media usage, again, overconfidence, particularly amongst IT staff, by the way, that has been linked to higher susceptibility and attitudes towards the organization. On the psychological factors, something that I have to, I'm admitting quite honestly that my personality type, which is one, if you look at the big 5 personality traits, there's one particular trait called the neuroticism, which talks to emotional sensitivity, and I'm more on the neurotic side than maybe on the calm side again, and that impacts your emotional regulation, it impacts your susceptibility to persuasion, it impacts your self-control, and that again can make people that have that trait or have a very high trait more vulnerable. But also things like self-efficacy, which talks to how much people like how much they feel that they're able to understand and defend against social engineering, that is also at play in terms of how vulnerable they are. Mood, mental illnesses, all of these play into the vulnerability level. And something I found quite interesting is that there is actually a particular trait called susceptibility to persuasion, or our gullibility trait and spectrum that makes people in certain environments more vulnerable than others. So then lastly, situational factors are also at play. Like if I'm very stressed, if I'm hungry, I was hungry and fatigued, definitely it was late in the afternoon, that impacts how I behave or has a negative impact on my risk behavior online. Position of power, quality of security awareness programs, all of those are situational factors that also impact people's behavior and susceptibility factors. Distraction, I mentioned already. The department that we are in also has an impact on how risky people are. I work for PR. We are more on the marketing PR side. So again, that actually makes us more vulnerable than maybe someone who's not involved with that many external interactions. So all of these are at play. And lastly, demographics. There are certain reports that, talk to that very young people as well as elderly people are more at risk when it comes to susceptibility to social engineering for various factors. Like in adolescence, our brains haven't developed yet to again impact our or sort of control our emotions to the same effect that you might be able to as an adult. And then in later years, you might have cognitive diseases or certain things that impact your or impair your cognitive thinking. So that's related to that. On the gender side, there's too much conflicting research that are excluded that, and it's just not conclusive enough. Some reports say women are more risky, others say men are more risky, so it's just not conclusive. So I excluded that from the the factors that are conclusive. So this is all of them. If you're interested, you're welcome to get a copy of this, obviously. But again, like highlighting the ones, and I think it just shows the complexity of human behavior, really. And if I highlight the factors that were at play in my particular story, where I was in the car, on the road, connecting via my phone, being hungry and fatigued, probably my personality traits made me more vulnerable. The heuristics, all of these are at play, and they're interconnected and interdependent as well. So some of those factors also impacted me positively, like, for example, the fact that I've been many years in cybersecurity, that we have a great quality cybersecurity awareness program that positively impacted me, because even though I clicked on the phishing simulation, I didn't enter my details, for example. So these factors have both negative and positive impacts on our behavior. And what I find so fascinating is if we look at these 33 factors, and then we look at traditional security awareness training, and including myself, I've been in this industry for over 10 years, and I've created content. And I think that I can admit as well that as an industry, we probably address, and I'm just talking purely on the training side. Obviously, there's a lot more on the behavioral side, and sort of phishing simulation in the moment kind of training goes more towards the behavior side. But the old school traditional security awareness training has not addressed a lot of these factors, other than possibly our knowledge, expertise, overconfidence, etc. So the question really is, like, aren't we missing something? And yes, I guess we can all agree that awareness training by itself does not automatically result in secure behavior. So we need to do something differently. And, you know, when we talk about human behavior and susceptibility factors, vulnerabilities, like, if we look at this as a system that can be patched, the question is there a patch for this? And this is where mindfulness comes in. Literally, mindfulness, if I had to define it in the simplest form, is just paying attention to what's happening right here and now without creating a story around it. So without judging it, but being present and focused in the moment. And that really is the antidote to so many problems and so many things. As simple as it sounds, it's not as simple to live. But again, based on evidence research, validated research, mindfulness practices, most of you would have heard the benefits from a stress reduction point of view, but it also has been found to be highly effective in the so-called meta-awareness, situational awareness, and present moment environment, as well as it's been proven to enhance cognitive abilities, as well as emotional regulation. So mindfulness really is the distraction preventer. And again, if you want to get a copy of all the research papers that have been cited here, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. So what I then did was map the benefits of mindfulness to the factors, the susceptibility factors. And what I think is so fascinating is if we say there's 33 factors, at a minimum, there's probably even more that I've missed, but just the ones that I've found documented, those 33 factors, mindfulness, again, documented, validated based on research. Out of those 33 factors, 23 can be positively impacted by mindfulness practices. Now, that's quite a big scope compared to more the traditional security awareness training that only addresses 2 or 3 of these factors. And that really then, you know, from a theoretical point of view, led me into creating this, what's called the zero trust mindset, because we're in an industry, cybersecurity, cyber warfare. It's a very sort of, there's a lot of terminology that's maybe not quite au fait with the mindfulness world. So to talk the language, the mainly male language, I have to admit here, is something that zero trust is more relatable in the InfoSec or security world. It's not that the end users are actually more open to a softer mindfulness terminology, but in the InfoSec world, the zero trust principle is literally helping users or helping the organization to cultivate a culture of sort of healthy dose of skepticism, like teaching people to not take anything at face value anymore. You can't trust what you see on social media. You can't trust if your CEO calls you and asks you to do anything with deepfakes and generative AI empowered threats. So zero trust, the zero trust mindset really takes that principle of zero trust into the human space. And we do that again through mindfulness activities such as slowing down, pausing before we react, engaging more intentionally, more thoughtfully, like verifying before we react, that kind of thing. And the question of how we now do this practically in an organizational setting, in an environment like a bank with 40,000 employees, that's where Christine comes in, and she's going to share her journey now into creating the Cybermindfulness campaign, as well as a zero trust mindset in her environment. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so just to get started and just to explain sort of like where it all started for us at Nedbank. Basically back in 2022, it's basically the first time that we were actually able to host a physical event again since 2019. And as any awareness professional will probably know out there, Cyber Awareness Month always needs to be exciting. There always needs to be something happening, basically to keep our users engaged. So, and it was getting to August in 2022, and I really, really, really needed some inspiration for, basically for the month and for what we were actually going to roll out for staff. We planned a cyber escape room, which I'll show you a picture of in a second, but we needed an overarching theme, and I was missing this. So, I think everybody realizes as well, 2022 was still an extremely, stressful time, for companies and for employees. The stress, I think the stress of that everybody and so many people went through, and that was also linked to to mental wellness specifically post the pandemic, and I think here in South Africa specifically, October is also Mental Wellness Month. Okay, and I mean it has been all the time, but with the pandemic, Mental Wellness Month in October became very, very prominent. And I think this was also in 2022. And I mean, I think our HR wellness team did an absolutely fantastic job by, obviously being able to manage and alleviate people's stress through the pandemic. And then obviously still now today, I mean, we still have an absolutely brilliant HR wellbeing team. So anyway, okay, so that was a little bit of the background, and this is an article I came across on LinkedIn that Anna had written, and it resonated with me immediately. And I could also just see how it would resonate with staff. I didn't want to do the typical thing, the typical cyber awareness, running our computer-based training and getting them to complete things. I really wanted to do something that, would make an impact. So, and as you can see, those points that resonated, it immediately showed, the link between stress and overwhelm, and how it is so simple for people to make cybersecurity mistakes. People were tired. People still are tired today. Tired, stressed, overwhelmed, and not paying attention. And that pivotal word, multitasking. And that is exactly when people are making mistakes. But more importantly, this is exactly what our social engineers, this is exactly what they were going to do. This is what, they basically take, this is basically when they're catching people unaware and basically getting people to make mistakes. Sorry, I just needed to double check. Okay, so it's down there. Thank you. Okay, so this is just a quick overview of 2022. In our conversations, Anna and I, like I said, I phoned her. We had a great conversation. We came up with the overarching theme of calm minds fight cybercrime. Well, cool and calm minds fight cybercrime, but yes, but this is basically what we did. And so so we had our, sorry, I'm losing my words for a second there. We had our escape room, but what we also did during the month is we hosted this hybrid presentation. And this is where we actually just introduced the whole concept of cyber mindfulness, facing cyber risks and human error in a stressful world, and why social engineering works so well. We were very fortunate to have Javad Malek, yes, join the presentation with a bit of humor as well. And it was a hybrid event. So we hosted Anna in the actual auditorium. We had staff that basically attended, but then we also streamed it out to the rest of the organization. And at that stage, we had over 5,000 of our staff members actually dial in and listen to this presentation. But once again, it was very personal. People could relate to the stories that Anna was telling. And then they could also see the link between phishing campaigns, mission campaigns. They could actually see how exactly how it worked. So yes, very, that was a very successful, presentation that we had. This basically is the picture. This is the picture of our cyber escape room. Sorry, I just had to show it off because we were very, very proud of it, and it was a huge success back then in 2022. But again, what we basically said with the escape room was, we said, come out and have some fun. Leave your desk, come out and have some fun. Take a break, and we obviously got them to engage with a bunch of different rooms. Basically, after the presentations that we had in October and how the October mind, the whole October cyber mindfulness and the calm minds fight cybercrime, we continue to basically thread the messaging into all of our articles, any articles we published. And I was even fortunate to be asked to please do presentations for various divisions. It was nowhere near what you just heard Anna say earlier, but I had to very, very quickly make up my own rendition of exactly what Anna had presented, so that I could use this in my own words and then basically bring it in to explain the social engineering aspects and include the cyber risk aspects to staff. So 2023, and this is where we really started to gain some momentum. This is where I basically approached our HR executive to explain our concept and to see how we could collaborate with HR. She absolutely loved it, said to her, please collaborate, go ahead, collaborate with the HR wellbeing team. And it was such a quick thing. We'd done it first thing in the year, and we were already invited to join their corporate wellness roadshows. And we did our first one in May last year, and you could see staffs, they were very, very confused. What was the cyber awareness team doing here with the preventative screening team that was coming, that was doing their rounds around our various campus sites across the country? People were having their blood pressure checked and having vitamin B injections, but the cyber wellness, the cyber team were there. But it was so easy to actually to engage with staff, because immediately you were talking to them about emotions. You were talking to them about their current frame of mind. How were they feeling? Okay, at some stage as well, we did feel a little bit like maybe we were, the agony aunt, but because we had to listen to people's frames of mind. But it also just highlighted the stress in the company. People were stressed, people were multitasking, people were overwhelmed, and this is where as well we put that together, and then we explained it from a cyber perspective, and we said to them, this is basically how you can make mistakes because of this. What we also did is we rolled out some short videos to employees during the month, and we also piloted a mindfulness app. I'll show you that in the next slide. So yes, we piloted a mindfulness app for staff to be able to use on their desktops, but also for them to be able to download onto their cellular devices. Again, we hosted more webinars, we had more talks, we had Anna back in, and you know, to basically just continue the theme and just to keep reiterating the messages. So basically, this is also, like I said, through KnowBe4, you know, we managed to collaborate with the Sensory. The Sensory and KnowBe4 basically had an agreement, and they had a pilot where they piloted to a bunch of clients, and they gave access to KnowBe4 clients, you know, to their mindfulness app via the desktop and via the mobiles. At the same time, I mean, this was obviously just to introduce them to mindfulness apps. A lot of people had heard of them. A lot of people hadn't. You know, we also mentioned that there were so many. There was a variation of them. Unfortunately, some of them, you know, more expensive than others. But how we were just basically trying to reinforce different ways and basically practical mindfulness techniques that they could use. And I mean, this included listening to music, listening to a mindfulness playlist, even through like the Apple Store. This included taking a walk away from their desk, going and just walking outside, you know, in nature. This included smelling different scents, you know, but just being more mindful and trying to get themselves into, you know, basically into a state of, yes, I can actually focus, to get them more focused, to basically get them to slow down, just to take that break. And also at the same time, brought that in to say, when you see something in a phishing email that comes into your mailbox, instead of immediately reacting, because what are you doing? You are obviously in your, exactly like Anna said, you're in your heuristic one mindset, and you are constantly fast thinking, your emotions take over, and immediately something, because that phishing simulation has sparked an emotion, you immediately go ahead and you clicked. And this is also where we started introducing surveys with all of our phishing simulations, and we actually said to them afterwards, we said to all of our clickers, basically what was going on, and actually as well, instead of saying, oh, you know, you clicked on a phishing link, we basically turned around and we turned it around and we said to them, tell us why you clicked on that phishing link. So we asked them, were you multitasking? Were you busy? Were you stressed? You know, did something spark an emotion specifically? And a lot of the times, that's exactly what the phishing simulations do. We're always looking for some way to, you know, to catch them, right? Well, you don't want to catch them, you want to test them, but you want to see if they're paying attention. So, you know, it's basically when asking them about what emotion they were feeling, or, you know, in what frame of mind they were when they clicked on that phishing link. And this is where we got a lot of our feedback, which was absolutely fantastic. Okay, so this is just like basically an overarching thing, just to show you like our road shows. We had, you know, and we really had to be creative. We came up with all sorts of little quirks, but all of these things to basically get people to engage with us. We talked, like I said, immediately we talked about emotions. We talked about, how are you feeling? Are you feeling annoyed? Are you feeling angry, upset? But yes, people were giving us their feedback. Again, at the bottom there, those were those three little modules that we rolled out through KnowBe4. You know, but just basically just something short and sweet to explain to them exactly what it was around mindfulness that we needed them to take into account. So this is where we're sitting now in 2024. We've continued with our cyber mindfulness journey. Staff know us now. They see us at all the wellness days, and they are more than happy to come and engage with us. Yes, of course, we talk mindfulness techniques, but at the same time, we are reiterating what they should be seeing in the various types of social engineering attacks. We've looked at the World Economic Forum Global Risk Report, and I mean, as we all know, disinformation, AI, fake news, deep fakes, all of this. And this is another reason why we're basically saying to staff, don't trust anything. Just have zero trust, question everything. Make sure that basically that that's actually the real, it's a real email, or it's a real text message. Again, we've continued to collaborate with HR. We've had to come up with also some funky little ideas on how to get people, to remember to actually focus. And, basically, we came up with these little stickers. We came up with these little stickers that basically they could stick on their laptops, like everybody gets the swag and they stick stickers on their laptops, just basically saying to them, stick it on your laptop, stick it on somewhere that you can have a look at. And remember to actually just breathe each time you see something in an email. And this is my last slide, and I'm sure I'm going to be, I'm going to have to rush through this just a little bit, but just the key takeaways from our experience. And I mean, I think you can hear from both Anna and I, it's something that we are very, very, very passionate about, both cybersecurity awareness and mindfulness. So the stuff really makes sense. It's scientifically backed with evidence. I mean, Anna was showed you all of that. Staff can really relate to you when you're talking to them about something that affects them personally. And it makes them think. It makes them think about the behavior that they actually portray when they're dealing with various vulnerabilities. Executive buy-in, yes, you need to get that. Always working with HR and the comms teams, making it sexy, making this exciting for staff, asking for the feedback, looking at and analyzing the feedback from the surveys and the reports on the trends, and actually seeing, is it actually making an impact? Budget, unfortunately, always important. We all know staff absolutely love gimmicky giveaways, something that's for free, doesn't matter what it is, but always coming up with something fun and exciting for staff that's relatable. And as I just said in my last point there, just making the program fun. It really is so rewarding when you can actually see that the message that you have just gone about talking to a staff member about has really resonated. It's really, really, really rewarding. And that's me. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's us. So just in summary, I think we all know social engineers tap into our human vulnerabilities. There's lots of factors at play, but mindfulness and mental well-being can really help in patching these vulnerabilities, and ultimately happier, more focused, more productive people are also safer people online. Thank you.